concludes this week's episode of Butts, Beans, and Baklava. See you next week.
Hey guys, welcome back to SwitchCast. We are now live, and we are happy to be with you, and we hope you're happy to be with us. I am your host, Doug Tabbutt, founder of Switch Cars, GT Vault, some other Instagram pages, and Cannonball record holder a couple of times with Arnie Toman, overall car enthusiast, although that is, I guess, hotly debated among some of my deepest critics. Anyway, we're glad you're here tonight, and we are going to be talking about car shows, car events, and what makes them really great. What's the X factor that makes us all want to go to them, and maybe even ones that appeal to people who are not interested in cars in the least. This weekend, we returned from Audrain Motor Week. We had about 12 people, including some spouses, some of whom were into cars, but definitely some who were not, including my wife. And I think we all had a good time, and there's a number of different factors that went into that. Definitely the people, but the people don't always make a car show great. Sometimes it's the cars, sometimes it's the alcohol, sometimes it's the entertainment, or just, again, the X factor that makes it so compelling. And there's a number of different types of car events all over the world. We have Cars and Coffee, which is fairly basic, just a, millennial cruise-in, an answer to the boomer-style, Tuesday night cruise-ins at the 50s diner where everybody pops their hood and sits in chairs and waits for everybody to look at their car. Cars and Coffee is kind of the opposite of that, but in the same vein. And then we've got Goodwood Overseas, which is a rich guy hill climb. You've got racing. You've got concours events where you put up your nose and wear a blazer, it's svelte, and put a pin on your blazer to, identify yourself as having status, and go around judge other people's cars. And you got street takeovers now, where if you have a rear-wheel drive version of a Nissan Altima, or if you have enough credit to buy a Dodge Challenger, you can go do drifting and probably run over some pedestrians that are trying to gain clout on the interwebs and take videos. That is, the street takeover thing is something I do not understand. I don't know if any of you spent any time watching that, but that is it's pretty ridiculous. A lot of people getting run over by cars in the middle of drifts because they run out in front of them, and then their family has like GoFundMes for their medical expenses. I'm like, this, are you serious? Actually, one of them got shut down. There was a GoFundMe for a kid who ran out in front of somebody mid-drift to like run to the center and got run over, and there was a GoFundMe, and I think they had so much flack from it that the GoFundMe got shut down, maybe out of shame. But then we have slabs, which I did not know was a thing. What do they stand for? Slow, low, and beers? Bitchin'?
Slow, low, and bouncy.
Slow, low, and bouncy.
Slow, low, and Bailey.
I mean,
that
that could be a great grandmother's. Never mind.
Accoutrement.
Yeah. So I discovered slabs this weekend, which is
Bangin', I believe, is actually the B.
Yeah. I think we should go to one of those events. So they just cruise around and cruise back and forth, and they've got, like, I don't know if you've seen Grease, but they have like the stick out, like, spinner knockoff things to like cut other people's cars.
Swingers, I believe.
Swangers.
Oh, we got the thumbs up from Bailey. Swingers or swing us.
I feel like we need Bailey to help us out with slabs. That's a weird thing. I said that slabs. We had a debate because we said slabs and street takeovers are not car culture.
Okay.
But it's just a different type of car culture, right? Maybe.
Yes.
Talk about slab. You're from Texas, and Texas, you're not from Texas. You live in Texas currently.
Yes, correct.
And slabs are a big deal there. Can you explain to us what the heck that all is about?
First off, hello audience. My name is Bailey Walton. Yes, I live in Texas. I'm in Dallas. Slab culture originated and kind of still takes place in Houston, Texas. But yeah, some people say slab stands for slow, loud, and banging. But the word slab originated from, this was probably early.
Slab side cobras?
No.
Oh.
No, I wish. Yeah, that'd be so cool. Originated, this is probably early 90s. So they would just like, say like, oh, let's go hit the slab. Like, let's, cruise up and down the boulevard, whatever. And
like Woodward
like the
Dream
concrete,
Cruise.
Yeah, hit the concrete slab. Like,
okay. That's
kind of where it started. And then it kind of just transitioned to the cars being called slabs. And then that acronym came, kind of like fix or replace daily,
sure.
Like someone made it after the fact.
So you said something about that they're gangs though, right?
There can be, yeah.
Can be. Like good gangs, like, hey gang, what's up? Or like gang sign.
Gang signs, there's quite a bit of
Gangs.
gang activity.
Okay, but they're separated by color.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll try to they swing back and forth in the street to block the other gangs from passing them.
Yeah, going down the street, yeah.
Is this all in fun or is...
It sounds
the
really
most part,
childish,
yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, for the most part, it's out of fun. A lot of people view it as at least they're not out there shooting each other, which I can see that point, but...
Does
they
ever
end
in that?
They end up shooting each other because...
Sometimes it's not a definitive resolution to it, but it does sometimes happen because
if you hit your target, it is.
So the wheels are called swangers, with a Z at the end for you old white folks. Anyway, yeah, so they stick out one of the terms is giraffe poke. They stick out into the next lane. You are literally taking up equivalent of 2 lanes with you being in the center lane.
From what I not
yeah
weaving,
you're
just
going
driving
straight
down.
Yeah, you're going straight down the road, and on each side of you they're sticking out to the half a lane at times. They can get really long. But when you're doing a slab race like that, trying to you're going pretty much all the way to the left of the street, all the way to the right to the
oncoming lanes we were watching.
Yeah, you can't. You're just making sure your opponent isn't trying to pass you by any means, but
but this is all happening at 15 miles an hour.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, hey, you know what car is always the fastest? The
a rental?
No.
Can you rent slabs?
What?
Can you rent slabs? Could I go on Turo and rent a bright purple lowrider Cadillac that had 12-inch wire wheels stuck out, 12-inch wide, the ones that stick, 12-inch swangers.
If you could, I guarantee you it would say it has the juice.
Yes, it does have the juice. Correct, John.
Juice or da juice?
The juice.
Even better. You guys been doing your homework.
Well, no, I literally just watched
I
the
was
one
doing your
video
homework for you
this weekend.
But yeah, so sometimes also those wheels can get stuck in each other. And so when you guys inevitably go to buy a set of them, you got to make sure it says no welds or no repairs on the wheels, because it is common that you'll hit
so only buy new swangers.
Pretty much.
Oh gosh.
And you got to have the Vogue tires on there too, the Vogues. Swangers on Vogues. You've seen them. The Vogue tires are actually quite popular all over, especially in Cleveland.
So if you try those different wheels, if you try them on multiple different cars, would they be swinger swangers?
Only if there's an upside down pineapple, I believe, is the qualification for that.
Is the upside down pineapple really a sign for swingers?
Yes.
Maybe.
Yes. Go to Bueller's.
Ferris Bueller's?
The store, the grocery store.
I don't know that's a grocery store.
Bueller's. Go there. Put a upside down pineapple in your cart. You're gonna find out real quick, buddy.
I feel like just because I'm homeschooled, we had this debate this weekend about whether or not the house we stayed in was a swinger house. And I feel like because I'm homeschooled, everybody's nodding. Yes.
I don't really think there was a debate. There was just a lot of conversation about it.
They're all just pulling these things on me like an upside down pineapple is code for swinger. Maybe the internet somebody who knows better can chime in on this, which, by the way, if you'd like to chime into this discussion, it's going to be a little bit ridiculous, fairly lighthearted tonight, but we'll come to some sort of conclusion. If you'd like to chime in, you can call us. It does not have to be car show related. It could be your ideas, your questions, your suggestions. What makes a car show great? How do you start a car show? How do you make money off of one? Should you make money off of one? Whatever the heck you want. You can call in 216-294-4124, or you can post in the comment flow wherever you're watching live, and our wonderful producer Ethan will relay the questions to me. That's right. Yes, I'm actually checking here. So what does make a car show great? Joining me tonight in this discussion, I have some people who went with me to the Audrain Motor Week, and we are going to recap that event and talk a little bit about what made that one great. We have some randos that are just car people, and then we have some people who have been involved in car events, starting their own. The founder of Canton Cars and Coffee is here. Are you the founder, or you just like take it over?
I'm the original takeover guy.
The original takeover guy.
Yeah, for Canton Cars and Coffee.
Gotcha. So you originally took it over from the original guy.
Yeah. So Mike Schlitz actually started it years ago, and it was a small email list, and it was over in a empty parking lot behind Giant Eagle, and it was only like 30 or 40 guys on that list, but it was a really eclectic group, and we kind of grew from there.
Gotcha. Eclectic. There's some. Bailey has founded Bailey's and Coffee.
Such a good name.
It is such a good name. Copyright Doug Tabbutt.
Yeah.
Which is a fairly informal gathering, kind of what Cleveland Cars and Coffee used to be, where it was just like maybe 30 people that you all knew and a good coffee shop and a good location, not like some big, huge thing with commercial vendors, just a great morning get-together. Andrew is a car guy who loves cars and drives a GTI and went with us this weekend. Dan Doucette's another car guy who's nuts for sticks and also likes weird wagons. Who else is out there that went? We have Smooth Mark, who didn't go this weekend but has gone with us to all sorts of different events. Along for the ride, we had Bradley Brownell, who founded Radwood, which is a very interesting car culture of its own. He's not here tonight, but so we're just gonna chit chat. So Audrain Motor Week, to recap. Let's see. Audrain is only a couple years old in terms of the concours itself. There's a museum there, which is incredible. It's very small, but they have rotating displays that are very, very well thought out and curated. It's right in the heart of Newport, Rhode Island, so it's a good tourist destination, and I think that helps them out. They're right on the main drag, so they have a lot of people passing through, and that's always good for a museum. It's tough to make it a destination in and of itself. And we initially went there earlier this year to see the supercar exhibit, and we got invited back for the concours, thanks to Ben Chester, who essentially runs the whole event. And what a tight ship he runs. And they are targeting Amelia and Pebble Beach. I think they have both of those in their sights. Now, most major cities across the country have some sort of concours event. And I think for a small event, they are pretty good, but I think a lot of them struggle, as does Cars and Coffee and most any local car show, with repetition. So you have the same group of people bringing the same cars, and you may have some big collections that you can kind of pull from, but at some point or another, like a static display in a museum, everybody's seen everything, and it's the same stuff over and over again. And the bigger concours have basically clout, and they can use that clout to pull anything and everything from worldwide collections because these guys want status. They want the awards, and I think they also enjoy the experience of sending their cars to the most prestigious events on the planet. And Pebble Beach in Monterey, California has long been, I guess, arguably the most prestigious car show in the world. If your car wins Pebble Beach, it goes up in value a lot. Amelia Island Concours is fast on their heels of becoming one of the world's and definitely one of America's foremost concours events. And there's a lot of other smaller ones popping up, but the one that I think has made the biggest splash the most quickly is the Audrain Concours. It has a good mix of things. They have a wonderful setting right on the coast of New England. I'm from Maine, so obviously, New England has my heart. New England coast is far more beautiful than the Florida coast. And it kind of mimics Monterey a little bit. Like when you're in Northern California, you could feel like you're in New England with the high cliffs and the rocky coast and the evergreens. So they have a wonderful setting. They have incredible architecture with, centuries old mansions and castles. Some of the guys did home tours there, or I guess mansion tours. So they have this wonderful mix of culture, of historical architecture, of scenery, and then they have a mix of relatively powerful and influential people between Donald Osborne, the CEO of the Audrain Museum and Concours, and Jay Leno, whose involvement, I'm not exactly sure what his official capacity is, but he is involved in it. So he is there and has a big draw, and just a lot of people trying really hard and focusing their energy in the right direction to make this thing a success. And it's really cool to see. Like, I think you have to run a car show like this as a business in order for it to succeed. You can't just be like, hey, let's have fun. Let's get a lawn together and a couple food trucks and everybody will come because cars. Because they won't. Car people are finicky, and a lot of car owners are very successful, and I don't want to say they're divas, but let's face it, most multimillionaires are particular. They've achieved a certain status in life, and they've earned the right to eat good food and not sweat on hot days and win horse races. And so there's definitely an art to catering to those types of people to get their cars there, because if you have their cars there, then the rest of us plebeians, commoners, will come out to see those cars. So, Bailey, John, since you two are here, what do you think they did well? Obviously you guys went because I said, hey, let's go to this. It's going to be awesome. We got media passes, but what drew you to this event in particular?
Well, I'm sort of biased towards that area. I've always loved New England, and I never got to experience it. So for that first trip, before the Audrain, I think I kind of invited myself. I might have, but it was worth it. And I listened to the Smoking Tire podcast. He was at that's Smoking Tire. That's Matt Farah.
Oh, I thought I was the only automotive podcast on the internet.
You wish.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was talking about how great it was, how fun it was. And then I kind of pestered you, everyone, let's go to Audrain next year, or let's go to their concours, in the fall. We have to do it. We've got to do it. And I did a deep dive on, social media from posts from, last year. Everyone looked like it was a good time. All the cars were pretty good. A well-curated selection of what was there. And New England just has this class on its own. The fact that they're putting it on there, the places the events were hosted were all very classed, very high class. It was very good. I don't know. Just by an aesthetics point of view, it was something I wanted to witness.
Yep. Yeah, New England has an interesting class of its own. Now, we were in Rhode Island, which is, a lot of northern New Englanders feel that Rhode Island, Connecticut should just be annexed to New York because it's a different level of class, different type of class. Mainer class, or I guess Northern New England class, is more like I mow the lawn around my appliances as opposed to just letting it grow. Whereas, Newport class is on a whole different level. You got Keel James Patrick stores.
Kyle James
Kyle,
Patrick,
whatever.
KJP.
Sorry, KJP, and, Land Rovers for your daughters, and, different level of class. But yes, I agree. And for those who don't know, a concours event differs from a regular car show in that it isn't just a cruise in. You have people in charge of organizing classes, and they'll say like, okay, this class is for 30s and 40s, convertibles, or, pre-war European sports cars, fairly specific classes, and then they invite specific cars and collectors to fill up those classes. So they know exactly what cars are going to be in each class. They're handpicked. The displays are handpicked, and they have a wonderful array of them. And then, of course, each class is judged, and you have a class winner in each category, which the rest of us don't really care about the judging. We just care that, like, well, you won't see 2 Ferrari F40s there. There will only be 1.
The
Mike, up to your mouth.
Oh, can you hear now?
Yeah, like a pineapple right there.
Right, just on the bottom of my chin.
Yes.
All right. So you had mentioned like the class and the culture of New England, and geographically it was pretty special. New England is the, aside from, Native American type stuff, it houses the oldest populated areas in the country. So you go there, and that's a very special thing. For instance, my wife and I, we actually ate dinner at the oldest restaurant in the United States, the White Horse, and it was wonderful. But you can't do that everywhere. So that thing that intangible thing that you guys were talking about and touching on, that really was special with all the mansions and everything. And you do have to have that kind of geographical charm. And the classes are phenomenal. Yes, I agree.
Yeah. 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 On Saturday, so they had a full week of events, including a Bonham's auction, and a collector car auction is always a highlight, I think, of a concours event. And I think it's an important part of it. They can be a little bit of a circus, but they're a lot of fun. If you've only ever watched them on TV, even on TV, they're entertaining, but in the room, there's just an energy, and it's super cool to be there where, people are eating and drinking and just spending hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. Like, it's just a whole nother thing to see people raising their hands and bidding on against each other for, a piece of rolling artwork that's in the room right there. Something that you've had on your poster, and you're watching, and you're part of people spending a ton of money on it.
Or if you're a hand talker and you accidentally bid $125,000 on something.
Yes, you do have to be careful. One of you did that?
I did that a few weeks
Where?
ago at Auburn. I had separated. I had stepped back into the non-bidders area, but I was still sitting there, and I was talking to the person beside me, and she was asking for clarification like 3 times, and I gestured my hand to the right to point to the room beside us, and they're like 125, and Chuck Loper, who was in the room, put both of his hands and like tackled my arm. He's like, "You gotta put your arm down," and I was like, "Oh shit!" Like I just bid 125,000, and immediately went to 150. Thank God, because that was literally a hand talk.
So there's actually there's an interesting. You bring up an interesting point about bidding, right? So, if you've only seen it on TV, when you're there in the room in person, it's a whole different atmosphere, energy. But you do have to be careful because they are looking for bidders. Now you have to register to bid. You have to send proof of funds and, be pre-qualified, and it's quite a process. But anybody can raise their hand. And if you have a bidder's pass, you have to be even more careful, because if you're not a bidder and you raise your hand, you can say, "Hey, man, I wasn't bidding." And the worst that happens is you get kicked out and you can't come back in. But if you have a bidder's pass, the worst that happens is you bought a car.
Yeah.
Or else you are never allowed to come back to the auction. So you absolutely have to be careful about eye contact and hand gestures. Now, at the high-class auctions, they're a little bit more lenient or a little bit more deliberate about that. I mean, once they get up into the millions of dollars, they know who their bidders are. They're watching for them. They require confirmation. They know their bidder's language. Some guys just is a simple nod, but they know that that's how he's bidding. Other people are, I got it. They want to be seen on TV. But you go to a wholesale auction, and it's a whole different ball of wax. There, they have no scruples, right? Like, if you're there, you are a registered bidder if you're in the room. So when I go to wholesale auctions, which I never do other than for entertainment because the cars there are garbage, but when I do, I was taught 15 years ago to put my bidder badge in my back pocket. You're supposed to wear it as a sticker on your shirt. You put it in your back pocket, so if they say that you bid and you didn't and they get you on video, they can't pull your bidder number and say, well, you bought the car. My friend learned this from this actually happening to him. He just walked by an auction and they said he bought the car. And you also, so I stand on the side of the auctioneer and face the car. So there's no possible way he can make eye contact because they will take any movement as a bid. If you simply just look at their eyes, that's a bid. Now, it's not that crazy at the high-end auctions. You actually have to raise your hand, make some motion, whatever. But one of our members, Brad's wife, did bid $95,000 on a car because she was reaching behind her and put up her hand to Brad. And whoa, 95 grand.
And they brought that car home. No, I'm just joking.
No, they didn't.
They wish, both them and I wish we brought that G-Wagon home.
Yes.
Oh,
It was an early G.
Early G.
The
35
G-Wagon.
grand, right?
Yeah, something like that. And it was set to go for 60 to 80, so I kind of put it out of sight. But it only went for
for 34, I think.
30. Yeah.
Yeah. At every auction like that, there are deals. Not very many. It's typically a seller's market at those auctions, at least after the, it's not a buyer's market after the fee. But there's always a few deals, and that G-Wagon, we had just left, and you and them were holding back, and I'm waiting for you guys. I'm like, what are you doing? And you had walked out the door but listening to the bidding, and you almost went back in to bid on that, and probably should have.
Yeah, that person got a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
That truck was all rigged up for camping and off-road and off-grid stuff. It was a pretty good bit of kit, mate.
Heck yeah. The other car that I should have bought, and I did register to buy this, and it went for 1/4 of the low estimate. You will never see a deal like this in an auction ever again. 1/4. The estimate was $6,000 to $8,000. It went for $1,500. It was nothing other than a 1998 Corvette C5 purple and yellow pace car go-kart. 5 horsepower. I was totally going to buy it for the upcoming Backyard 400 version 2 or second annual Backyard 400. It would have perfectly fit my personality. I could have parked it next to my Corvette and said things like, my Corvette is best Corvette because I have 5 horsepower.
Baby American Eagles.
I could have put a blip shift plus 5 horsepower sticker on it because it had 5 horsepower.
Yeah, would have doubled it.
I could have actually with tuning. You can make those engines make about 10 horsepower.
I'm very surprised.
Yeah.
I'm very surprised you did not buy that.
I was right there. So they started the trick at every auction is you never want to hit the opening bid because they start it typically at the low estimate. So they started the bidding at $4,000 and then went down to 3 and then went down to 2 and then went down to 1,500 and the room was silent. I was waiting for them to get to $1,000 because I'm I'm in for 1,000, 1,200, whatever. It's a friggin' go-kart. And somebody finally bid 1,500 from the front. And I'm that was a sympathy bid.
But on the non-vehicles, it was something like 25 or 30% or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, but 25% of $1,000 is 200. It was. I figure all in that cart was worth $2,000. That was a good deal. But
it was the guy with the resting smug face. He bought most of those pedal cars and the golf carts.
I'm wondering if he didn't I don't know. I feel like I need to find out who he is.
Yeah.
Because I wonder if some of it was just shill bidding. Like, all right, well, I got to put in a bid because it's making him look bad. So he was just there to put in the low bid. Yeah. I don't know.
He was tight with them all.
1,600 would have got it. I
Yeah.
know it. I should have
That's why I'm so surprised.
I should have called Celebrity Machines to friggin' re-up my sponsorship for this year and just had them buy it. Speaking of Celebrity Machines, SwitchCast is brought to you by Celebrity Machines. Celebrity Machines offers more than 250 different screen-accurate license plates as they appeared in movies and TV shows like Back to the Future, Ghostbusters, The Fast and the Furious, Breaking Bad, and so many more. Celebrity Machines also makes our dealer insert plates and can make yours, as well as our commemorative 2539 plates from the fastest cannonball run ever. Visit CelebrityMachines.com for more info and use promo code SwitchCast to save 25.39% at checkout. Again, that's CelebrityMachines.com, promo code SwitchCast. We are here tonight. Thank you for joining us. Call in if you like, 216-294-4124, or post your comments or statements, open-ended or closed-ended, in the comment flow wherever you're watching live. Bailey, John, Dan, Mark, and a few others are here having some discussion about what makes a good car show, and kind of on the heels of going to one of the pretty best car events, I think, that we've been to. We are going to get to some of the comments here. Coming in from our producer, Ethan, and our comment screener. Let's see. These are not related to car shows, but we'll try them anyway. Val Nikonov says, "Hey, Doug, love the podcast." Thanks, Val. What are your thoughts on the 10th gen Mitsubishi Lancer Rally Art as a first car? 230 horsepower, all-wheel drive, manual sedan. I like all of those things. 10th gen. Which is the 10th gen?
Rally Art?
Is that like now?
I believe those Rally Arts never came in a manual. Those were like this weird auto transmission that you had to drain the transmission, do like a transmission flush every year, or else it'll explode. But I've driven a few Rally Arts, and they were actually pretty decent. I had a good time in them. They were all modified, though, so I don't know if the stock one is much fun.
Oh, yeah.
But
I do kind of like that body style. So it's like the 08 to 10. Yeah. Yeah, that would be a fun first car. I don't know what they cost now, but yeah, sure. Go for it. Let's see. From Bugshdov. Hey, Doug, it was great to meet you at the gathering and concourse. Sorry, Bailey and John. It made my week. You must have had a really mediocre week up till that.
I believe he was whelmed.
He was whelmed.
Purgatory Street.
If you had to pick a hot hatchback to do a cannonball in, what would it be? A Mitsubishi Lancer Rally Art.
Yeah, I was about to say they made that in a hatch too.
I don't like hatchbacks. I fundamentally am opposed to them because I'm a wagon guy, right? No, it's okay. It's the same reason you don't own like an Audi S5, right? It's not a sports car and it's not a practical car. It's like trying to be in between. It's a compromise. It's all-season tires. That's a better example. All-season tires are terrible winter tires and terrible summer tires. They're like, it's mediocrity at all those things. Wagons are amazing at being wagons. They have tons of space. They're practical. They look good. A sedan is great at being a sedan. It does everything a wagon does except has less space.
The wagon.
And then the hatchback just is like, I don't know, a bad love child of the two.
The E-Class wagon, it definitely held its own on the road trip. It was amazing.
Yeah. But you can't like put a huge fuel cell in a hatchback. You can't put any fuel cell because there's no firewall. You can't put like a ton of groceries in. You can't put a dog in. Can't put your drums in.
You could probably put a LED screen that said, "I've got the juice."
No, that's got to be a trunk that's popped, and you have the screen on the inside of the trunk.
Renault 5 Turbo.
R5 Turbo?
R5 Turbo. Yeah, imagine that as a big old husky wagon that you're trying to throw down the road. No, it would be tainted as a wagon.
Okay, but that's
That is
a
a hatch.
two-door. That's a two-door hatch.
Did he specifically say 4-door hatch? Or not?
No, but I feel like that's bordering on coupe,
A
right?
hatch
Okay,
can be 2 or 4 doors.
BMW M Coupe. Is that a hatch or a coupe?
Hatch.
Yeah, there you go. It's literally called BMW M Coupe. It's a shooting brake. Renault R5 Turbo, I would argue, is essentially a shooting brake.
Cool.
The angle, this angle doesn't work.
Okay.
You either do this or this. This doesn't work.
I suppose.
At what
The
point do we
45
strike
degree
a pose
angle.
on Vogue?
Strike a pose and Vogue.
That's what you were doing.
Oh, I guess so. Focus SVT, yes.
What, Kevin Hare? What is the deal with the crying baby at classic car shows?
Oh,
I think you get
no.
It comes as a 2-for-1 deal with a stuffed tiger.
Ugh. I like the plastic food on the trays. It does not taste good, though.
That's a boomer thing, man. Shoot.
Or the peeing kid, too.
Shoot. That we totally forgot. Okay, so as a gift to Ben Chester, who put all this together and got us our media passes and was a great host, we got him like the Boomer Car Show starter kit. And lest anyone get offended, whatever, I'm not going to get canceled by boomers, let's be honest. I'm going to get canceled by friggin' 20-year-olds because they're more sensitive. But the stereotype of boomers at car shows is that they're crotchety and they wear New Balance and they wear head-to-toe stuff that matches their car and they have stuffed tigers, et cetera, et cetera. And they're, just very, very proud of their cars. So we got Ben. He just got a 944 Turbo. We got him like a Boomer Porsche Club starter kit to help him be more proud of his car. So we got him a white leather full front bra for his car. If you're under 30, go look up what a bra is for a car. Not a clear bra, like an actual bra you put on your car. They're awful. We gave him Porsche flags so he could put them in the lawn at the show. We got him, what else did we get him? A windshield sun reflector from Porsche exclusive manufacturer, made in Sharpie. What else do we get?
Bailey, what did you get him?
Red brake caliper covers, big ones, because there's no small brake caliper covers.
Well, I got the kids some Newports.
Some Newport smokes.
Yeah,
And some supplements.
And some
yeah.
supplements.
So, when you get older, sometimes you just need a little help.
Remembering things. It was ginkgo.
But we did not get him a crying baby or a stuffed
That would
tiger.
have been perfect.
Or mirrors. He needed more
Yes,
mirrors
to
for
look at
under his car.
To look at his oil pan leak. Because they all leak because you have to take the cross member out to reseal it.
What else do we not get him that is like quintessential Boomer car show accoutrement?
The build sign next to it.
Oh, yes.
Build
The
sign,
giant
yep.
sign that talks about how rare their Corvette is.
Camp shirt.
Yes.
Like
the
the
camp
button
shirt.
that's got all of the prints on it.
Oh, yes. Yes. That's
Like-
3 sizes too large.
Yep.
The button-down collared.
Yep.
And it's got to have like red on the inside of the
Mhm.
armpits and then prints
And
of their
35
car all
pictures of
over it.
only their car.
One night to wing night, me and the bros. Actually, I wasn't there for that night. So I guess the bros, without me, they all wore those like Boomer button-up shirts to wing night. Dude, it was a crowd pleaser, I heard. It was so good.
They were probably like, you guys look sharp.
Yes. Also, you've been mispronouncing Ben's last name. Ben's last name is Mercer. Doug
I'm sorry.
Mercer.
The comment came in that Bailey, he sounds dreamy, slabtastic.
Oh, was that Andrew? Oh, who was that? What was the username? I'm flattered.
Anonymous.
I'm quite flattered.
374.
Well, Anon, hit me up after the show.
Gonzo Prius. All right, I've been pwned, as they say on the forums. Gonzo Prius, who recently went nonstop across country with 107 gallons of fuel on board, in a Prius hatchback, says, "What's this about not being able to put a big fuel cell in a hatchback?" Fine, you got me there. I just think it's not as good of an idea as a wagon, because I need to take extra shoes and all sorts of other things on top of the fuel cell.
All the room.
They serve different purposes to me.
They do.
A hatch, like Andrew's hatch, Mark 7.5 Golf GTI Rabbit Edition. It's like this gorgeous cornflower blue color. He's got these fake center locking wheels from OZ. They're OZ.
What does that
Super
have to do
Legeros.
with it being a hatch and serving a different purpose?
It is fun to just putz around in, throw it in a corner. It does what you ask.
I mean, so is a Caterham Super 7.
Yeah, but you can take this to work on a snowy day without much issue.
I could do that with a 911 too,
Yeah,
or a Corvette,
but,
or a Mustang. No,
but there's a reason
not
there's a
Mustang.
hatch buyer and a 911.
I would
or a
also
Corvette
argue that the
buyer.
Golf R is more of a shooting brake because it's like a square body hatch. I know what the hatch is about, right? It's a sedan with accessibility.
We need to call someone who's British, because hatches are insanely popular over there. You go to a high school parking lot, every single car in the parking lot is some cheap hatch. Everyone's got a hatch right now.
I would argue that almost all of them are two-door wagons, though, by the
Two-door
body
wagons?
style shape. They call them hatchbacks, but as we know them in America, and the question I was answering is how we perceive hatchbacks here, which is basically just like not a wagon and not a sedan. It's like a CUV that's slow, low, and banging.
With swingers.
Mom, can you come get me? No, when I think of wagon, I think more even if it's an E63, it still has a certain amount of comfort to it. You are either going to be just daily driving in comfort, or just so you can throw a bunch of stuff in it, or if it's like an E63, you're going to be shooting down the Autobahn at 200, but still be comfortable and can still throw stuff in the back of it. Hatchbacks aren't necessarily they don't have the hint of utilitarian or
I love a good hot hatch, but I think the thing that would most clearly define this, kind of delineate this, is that Trevor would never own a wagon. So because of that, we should.
Yeah, no inside jokes on the podcast.
But we should always that should go wagon more than hatch.
Right.
I love my wagons.
We have a question for Mark Spence. Because I need a sound bite.
Come here, sugar.
For Ethan, you got to get on this. We need sound bites for certain types of questions that break the rules. Figure out which rule this breaks.
Who said it?
Kentucky Cobra 76.
That's a name.
Yeah. Wonder
Probably a
where
cousin
he's
of mine
from
or
and what he
something.
drives. Do you think that the R34 Skyline, when it becomes legal, will raise the prices of all the other Skylines?
Wow, that's a good question.
No, it's not. It's a terrible question.
Well, the R34 is already the least amount made. It's already the rarest one to get out of all of them.
That's not the question.
Yes.
So-
But will a rising tide lift all ships?
I don't believe so,
Why not?
because you can find the other ones.
True.
I disagree. There are far too many people buying them,
For way too much money.
putting them away in Japan or Canada or wherever you can.
34s, yeah, not 33s and 32s.
33 is illegal right now.
Yeah, I heard. Did you not say 34?
I did say 34.
Yeah.
I'm saying he's asking if the R34 Skyline becoming legal in the U.S. will raise the prices of the 33s and 32s.
Yes. If you can't get a 34, you
the
can get a
original
33 or 32 at a little bit of a discount.
And those people probably already own 33s and 32s.
Not necessarily. It's just people will see a 34 posted on Instagram. What's the next best thing that I can afford? Get a 33 or
An
32.
Acura NSX.
Yeah.
So to me, the 34 is in a league of its own. It's just a totally different car aesthetically. Like, I would love to own a 34. I could care less about having a 33 or 32.
Especially the Jade Nismo.
Yeah.
Amazing color.
But here's why I hate the question. I shouldn't say hate. I'm sorry. I'm telling my 6-year-old not to say hate about things that aren't evil.
I just really, really, really don't like you.
No, I have no problem with the person. It's just the quintessential question we get every week and I get every day at my job. It's along the lines of, what's the next big thing? What's going to go up in value? Who cares? Buy a car because you like it. I understand people want to fiddle around with predicting the market and stuff like that. And but historically, cars don't go up in value. They go up and down. Yes, blah, 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 blah. But it's like the same question when the new 992 GT3 comes out. Will that lower the price of all the other ones? Maybe, maybe not. But I don't like the premise of any type of price prediction question.
They're already going for stupid money overseas.
Well, because people in
already
Canada
putting
are
them
buying
away.
them up because Canada has a 15-year exemption. U.S. has 25-year exemption. So people in the U.S. and Canada are buying them up, shipping them to Canada, putting them in storage so they can ship them across the border once they're here. And people in Japan figured out a long time ago that people were going to do this, so they raised the prices there. Same thing that happened when I tried to buy a Honda NSXR a couple years ago.
That's what Myron taught me, that you need a guy.
You need a guy and you need to be 5 years ahead of everybody else.
Well, no.
Or 30
No,
years.
you need someone, like if a Japanese person sees an American trying to buy a JDM car, they're going to say, okay, cool, jack the price up way higher than they're asking.
I have a guy over there.
They're already doing that to the Australians.
Yes. Okay, so back to the event. So weather arguably is a big factor in any of these massive events. And the reason probably why Monterey is so popular is that I don't think they've ever had to postpone for weather because it's Northern California. It's just always mild out there. But New England has its own set of weather, usually 4 seasons in a day. Checking the weather means whether or not it's going to snow today.
This guy.
Yeah, this guy. What's up, bub? But Saturday we got some pretty serious downpours. So Friday was the Gathering, which was a super exclusive event a la the Quail, with food vendors and alcohol vendors, and everything was free, and it was a limited group of cars and limited group of people. $300 a pop for a ticket for a few hours definitely limits the audience. And then that was beautiful. And then Saturday was a couple different cars and coffees. And the tour, which is the Tour d'Elegance, is when the cars that go to the concours that are invited actually do a driving tour. And to me, that's one of my favorite aspects of an event is seeing those cars driving, because these are not just like Porsches, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, new model stuff that people drive anyway. These are cars that have been hidden away in collections for years that are worth millions, if not tens of millions of dollars that you'll likely never see again, and you get to see them being used. And what made it even more exciting, in my opinion, is that because of all the rain, the Cars and Coffee was canceled. The Porsche Club Concours still went on, but it was, a shadow of its former self. There was like 30 cars there, and they concluded the awards by 10 a.m. But they still had probably 40 or 50 cars, incredible machinery, do this tour in the rain. Many of these cars had windshield wipers that were about 8 inches wide and didn't work very well. No defrost. Some of them didn't have windows. There were race cars. There was open top cars. There was an open top Bugatti. Bugatti. Yeah, an open top Bugatti. another open top Morgan. And, people are coming in, and they've got one guy in a Ford GT40, a real one, by the way, had his door open for ventilation because he doesn't have windows. He just has that little flap, and people are toweling off their windshields to try to get some visibility. It was super cool to see all these guys in multi-million-dollar cars just out using them as they were made to be used. That was one of the highlights of the weekend, I think, is getting out there in raincoats and umbrellas and just being out there with the hardcore people. But I don't know. It was refreshing because you go to a normal Cars and Coffee, you get a little bit of rain in the forecast, even if it doesn't show up, and it's like dead.
Well, yeah,
nobody wants to go.
We got Peter Gozinia out on the Westlake side of Cleveland, and dude won't even go to Dairyview in his 911 if it's supposed to rain 2 weeks from now. Are you kidding me?
People are checking the humidity levels. Well, it's got to be between 55 and 60% humidity for me to take my car out, because if it's more than that, then the paint is gonna flake. I'll get haze marks from my wax.
And I don't have to update the billboard.
Update the billboard?
The board next to the Corvette.
Never driven in rain. Oh gosh, I may or may not have advertised a car recently as never driven in rain. I'm ashamed of myself, honestly, but it did happen. I didn't say never seen rain, because who knows what happens at the factory or the port. But one of the really interesting things, too, about Saturday was we went to the Newport Auto Museum, which was, I think, mostly consists of a guy's private collection that he opens up. He likes sharing with people, so he opens it up to the public. But there was an interesting observation there that I thought was cool. Nobody else may care, but I'm going to tell it anyway. There's a Viper RT10 there. It was black with silver stripes, very similar to the car, the first cool car I ever rode in. It was my mom's friend from high school, is a guy named Jimmy Craig, rest in peace, and he had a 96 black with silver stripes Viper. And his famous saying was, "Nothing beats cubic inches," or as I guess a more commonly known phrase is, "no replacement for displacement." So he had an 8-liter Viper V10, and on the placard, on the billboard for this Viper, it says 8-liter V10, 415 horsepower. And I just laughed to myself because I'm like, man, talk about nothing beats cubic inches. Porsche makes a 3.6 liter flat 6, less than half the size of that V10 motor, with the exact same horsepower, 415 horsepower. So, whatever. Yeah, nothing beats cubic inches except engineering. And I guess also turbochargers.
And superchargers.
And superchargers. Yeah. Bailey, what else did you like about that show? What do you think made it great?
I don't know. You're putting me on the spot.
Okay.
I'm going to think about
Andrew
that.
or Dan, if you'd like to weigh in, that would be fine. I think one of the things was the experiences that came with the type of people that were there. So we had a couple different things happen. One of them was we're standing around at the gathering, which, like, it's very exclusive event, and these two girls walked up who I don't know if they had passes. They claimed they had been on like the cliff walk, and they came up to the organizer of the event. I was talking with Ben, and they're like, yeah, this guy over here, Sergey, invited us to this party tonight. Do you know where it is? And we're just like, what? They're like, yeah, no, we're supposed to go to this party, and it's like this super fancy party, exclusive, whatever. It's, do you know about it? And we're like, we have no idea. And this conversation went on for like 10 minutes. And so we called Sergey over, and we're like, hey, do you know these girls? He's like, I guess. And, we finally like just took pictures with them, but we had no idea what party they were talking about. I'm like, man, this is actually brilliant. Like, if you want to get invited to a super exclusive party, just go up to somebody in charge, be like, hey, so I got invited to this party. Do you know where it is? They knew nothing. They didn't know where it was, what time, who, nothing. terrible way to try to crash a party. It's a good way. They need to play it off better. But yeah, it's stuff like that that's just fun. That's happening all the time. And then I think the best one was you guys were in the Bank of America tent eating their free food for a long time and their free alcohol.
Yes.
Yes.
They didn't kick us out at first for some reason. But then after a while they they had just like cold cut sandwiches.
Yeah.
And they were okay. You know, it was good. Jay Leno was there first. So, I mean, like we walked there and Jay Leno was there eating. So like, oh, okay. And then we walked in and started grabbing some food and whatever.
Yeah, Jay Leno's here. That means it's okay for us to be here.
We're media. That's what we do. So like we were just eating some food there and then, I think they brought us some like hot chicken sandwiches and they're like, this is not for you guys. These are for the private bankers that bank with Bank of America that are on a special list. And I told him, I was like, well, I own 13 shares of Bank of America. And he didn't like that. He just kind of looked at me and was like, that doesn't really help or anything like that.
But the bartender kept serving us.
They did. They never once asked for anything. They were just like, do you want more wine? I'm like, yes, please. I would love some more.
And then our friends came back that paid $15 a pop for the exact same cup of wine.
Uh-huh.
That was great. We gave him some ribbing until we got kicked out. But right before we're about to get kicked out after being somewhere we weren't supposed to be.
Yeah, this is when I saw the Cultivated Collector, and I walked up to him. And I was like, hey, man, you want to go say hi to everybody? We're all in the Bank of America tent. And I'm like, oh, by the way, actually, do you bank with Bank of America? And he's like, I do, actually. And I was like, great. You're our in. So I brought him over there, and he started talking to them. And I think at that point, that's when they found out who you were.
Well, I didn't know that you had like gotten us back in as guests of somebody who was on the list.
Yeah, I saw him walking around out there. I was like, hey, man, how you doing? And we're all eating food in a tent we shouldn't belong in.
You're a genius.
Yeah. Because there's a very small list of people who are invited to be in this tent. And their guests. So apparently Matthew Ivanhoe was on the list, so he then had 12 guests. But we still couldn't eat the lobster rolls. I'm like, I just friggin' want a lobster roll, and Dan wanted a chicken sandwich badly. So we're about to get kicked out, and I swear I never play this card. I'm not that guy. But I was wearing my bright red Cannonball jacket, and half in irony, because I always joke, right? About like people are like, oh, you're a Cannonball record holder or whatever. I'm like, yeah, that and $5 will get me a drink at happy hour, because like it's true. People think it's cool, but it's not like I get endorsements or free anything for it. It's just something I did. So right as we're about to get removed from the premises, I was like, hey man, so does being the Cannonball record holder get me a lobster roll? And he's just like, what? Wait, what? Oh my gosh, that is you. That's so cool. And so just asked about the Cannonball record, telling the other guy about it, and like wants his picture with us. Now, Aaron and some of the others didn't know this had happened, so they had like wandered out of the tent. And I'm like, no, guys, it's cool. We're still in. We're good. They said we could have whatever we wanted. And then it got even more fun because they got called away by their boss. So they asked me to like watch the tent. So then I became security. So all these people came up to me and they're like, well, I have a Bank of America account. I'm like, no, you're not on the list. I just got to turn everybody away for half an hour that you can't have the lobster rolls.
He was too good at it. It came too natural.
Awesome. It was awesome. But apart from that, Andrew, what was this your first Concours experience?
This was my first event with very, very, very expensive cars, yes.
Okay, so what made it, was it the cars that made it better, or what was the X factor that made this type of event better than a normal Cars and Coffee?
Personally, it was the people that drove the cars there and the owners of those cars. I talked to a few people, or was around people as they were talking to the judges, and the guy with the yellow Mercer something that I've never seen before in my life and will probably never see again, he knew that car inside out. Like, he knew everything about it. Those judges were just sitting there like, they were almost like looking at their watches like, all right, this guy needs to just like We get it. It does this and that. But, like,
best Mercer because
but that dude just kept going on. He looked like Stan Lee, which is another thing I liked about him. And he was wearing his like 1920s overalls for, that mechanics would wear back in the day. He looked
correct.
He was very period correct. He has little goggles and his cap and whatnot. But he just knew everything about the car. And the guy with that MG Cooper car, I honestly can't remember.
The open top race car.
Yep, that was basically a bathtub on Saturday. Talked to him on Sunday, and he was the nicest guy in the world. Once I develop my photos, he will be in one of them, posing with the car.
Yes. Well, tell us about developing our photos. What is that?
Well, I believe it was either Bailey's idea or Dan's idea, so I think either one of them should be the one to.
It was mine.
No, don't take credit for. Hey.
No, scavenger hunt was my.
Yes, that was your
competition.
Idea. But
Dan was the disposable
it stemmed
camera guy.
because at every event, I always like to bring one film camera and just have fun with it. Nothing attached to it. Just like you got 20-some shots. Just have fun.
Yeah, for the kids out there, a film camera only has a certain number of shots in it, and you won't be able to see the photos until afterwards, and that's the fun of it.
You have to send them away to get developed. It records the light onto this little strip of film, and then you have to expose that film so that you can see the information that's on the film. And then you print it on a piece of photo paper that costs you $1 at Rite Aid.
And no one can hit like or subscribe.
Correct.
I'm scared.
Yes. So, yeah, we all had media passes and disposable cameras, which made it just hilarious and fun.
Yep.
Because it was just different. People looked at us and were like, "Wow, they're weird, but they're also having fun."
Yeah, we got John and I got to take pictures of people giving out the awards, and they didn't like us at first, but then once they kind of realized how much fun we were, they kept us along for a little bit.
Wait, they weren't laughing with us?
No, they did not like us at first, but I think they got along with us.
John really played it up. He would pull his media badge and put it in front of people, be like, "Excuse me, can you open the hood of your Bugatti media?" And then
What?
click.
I should have done that. I was out there taking legit photos. Dang. I shot 2 rolls of film on my actual film camera, too. I'm excited to see what those look like.
Those are going to look good.
Hopefully.
Bailey is quite the photographer.
Oh, you.
What's your Instagram for your photography stuff?
Commute to coffee.
Yes.
The number 2. Commute to coffee.
Yes. The best one for me, the best shot, I don't know if it'll come out, but it was the most fun. Jay Leno was walking around, so I went up to him and said, "Excuse me, can I get a picture with you?" And I put the disposable camera in selfie mode and clicked it, and with a huge crowd around, he goes, "What kind of phone is that?" And 5 minutes later, I came up with a great response. It's a rotary.
But where is that drum set?
Only my wife heard that one, and she rolled her eyes about as much as everyone else is.
My Nana still has a rotary phone in her house. I think you can still use it.
Is she single?
No. No, Andrew.
We need to thank a couple of our sponsors, and we'll do that right now. Boxcast is a live streaming company based in Cleveland, Ohio, and they serve broadcasters and viewers around the world. Their founders launched Boxcast in 2013 with one purpose: to make people part of the experience, like a good car show. If you're looking to live stream your podcast, church service, car show, sporting event, wedding, or even your cannonball attempt, Boxcast is an easy, flexible live streaming platform for organizations. Boxcast is so easy, we're broadcasting this show with a phone. Head over to switchcars.com/Boxcast for your free trial. Again, that's switchcars.com/Boxcast. Nathan's Detailing is a proud sponsor of SwitchCast. Nathan's Detailing is a company in Cleveland, Ohio that provides mobile detailing services for individuals and dealerships. They also offer PPF and ceramic coating installations. They will not install your leather bra on your Porsche, though. With 800 plus Google reviews and an impressive 4.9 rating, Nathan's Detailing is a go-to shop for all of your detailing and protection needs. With Nathan's Detailing, convenience is key. Their mobile detailing technicians bring the power, water, and supplies to your home or work and detail your car on site. Check out the link below for free interior fabric protection or leather conditioning with your purchase. At Nathan's Detailing, this smiles for you. We have a couple comments from the live chat here. Val Nikonov asked me what my top speed driven was. I hate that question because my top speed is 195 miles an hour 2 different times. And I'd really like to be in the 200 club, but I'm not. Soon. Camille C. said, a good DJ and proper food makes the best car events. Also, owners who hang out and talk about the cars and their journeys. It's from Tony at Camille C. Wait, I thought it was from Camille C. It looks like it's from Tony at Shaughnessy Overland Express, who doesn't sponsor the podcast, but should, because they just got a free shout-out. Sneaky question. A good DJ and proper food. I agree with food. I don't remember the music that was playing at Audrain, but maybe that's because it was good. No? Bailey's shaking his head.
There was a few like raunchy covers of some new hit songs that, boy, they were not good.
I feel like it was a really weird mix of music too.
Yes.
Like it wasn't like just. I don't know. It just went everywhere.
It's either a 100% hit or a 100% miss. And I'm not much like, okay, like I love music. Like today, listening to music in the car with it blasting, I heard something so good. It moved me so much that I started to cry. I love music. It does a lot for me. But usually loud music just music at car events kind of turn me away from the event. They take away from it for me.
Yeah, I have to agree with that one because there has to be a speaker somewhere. And around that speaker, if you're going to be playing across the entire venue, it might be quiet at the edges, but if you're by that speaker, it's way too loud and you won't be around that for very long. So let's just say there's a nice car over there, which I want to say those Alphas were close to the speakers. The ones at the top of the hill by the house, mansion,
I don't
castle.
think it was ever too loud, though.
No, but I also just didn't want to hear
But some
music when I was up
places.
there.
Well, maybe a good DJ, like this guy just said, wouldn't have speakers that do that, and he would do the research in the homework to figure out what decibels each speaker should be at and place them accordingly because he did the research on the acoustics of whatever event he's playing. Maybe I just haven't heard a good DJ at a car event.
I feel like most cruise-ins are just like beach rock.
What's wrong with the Beach Boys in your 57 Chevy, Doug? Huh?
It's so cliche. Also, they are annoying. High-pitched. In my 409.
Make sure to buy your raffle tickets.
I think there's a point there. A really good car event, you feel like you are royalty and like the event is catered to you, versus a lame car event, you feel like it's commercialized. Like you're always being sold something. And that's why I like the Gathering, because even though the tickets were insanely expensive, everything was free. And so you were never being told, you can't come in here, you don't have the right pass, whatever. You weren't being charged $10 for a hot dog. I know that stuff is par for the course, right? Like you have 5,000 people at a car event, you can't let them all do everything. But it was such an amazing experience because it was just open. Everything was open. Everybody was friendly. It's here. Have more wine. Have more lobster. And the cars were incredible as well. And it was just everybody was on an even playing field, and there was nothing, even though all the vendors were trying to sell you stuff, it wasn't overt. It was like going to Costco. I'm trying to sell you this amazing bacon by giving you as much as you want. Okay, I'll take it.
The local Cars and Coffee in Dallas, ran by this seemingly nice lady, consists of like 20 to 25 of those like tents of flea market tents of people like selling jewelry they made. Enter anything that you could see selling under those tents, and then like 10 cars. There's double the amount of tents and commercial selling of, in my opinion, garbage most of the time, and then only a few cars.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating.
Speaking of a somewhat exclusive event, I want John to weigh in on this a little bit, just to give his kind of flyover of an event that he's created that I think is interesting because it's different than the norm, and it's a really good experience. And that is the Cars Are the Stars event, which is just hosted the second one down in Minerva, Ohio. This is an event I've been to both years. Last year I went thinking this is going to suck. It's out in the middle of nowhere. Like, again, it's going to be, Bel Airs with their hoods up and stuffed tigers, and I'm going to want to go home immediately. But it wasn't. Tell us a little bit, quick recap of what the Cars Are the Stars is, and why it's different.
So the Cars Are the Stars, my friend Jim, he had said we were trying to do a fundraiser for the movie theater. We have an old-timey movie theater downtown. And he had said, can we sell out a showing of this? And I said, I don't sell movies. I do car events because I also run Cars and Coffee for Canton. And so I thought about it, and I was like, no, let's shut down the town. Let's get some invitation-only cars. And, a lot of the things like you guys were saying earlier, the very stereotypical things that really turns off a lot of I hate to be ageist, but the younger crowd with the doo-wop music and the 50-50 tickets and all that stuff, and I really wanted to have something special. So we shut down the town. We have invitation-only cars. 100% of the proceeds go to the Roxy, and that is where we're different in that regard. But the thing about it is there's only so much room on the bricks, and I wanted to have something in the small town of Minerva that you don't see in any other place, really, but particularly in Ohio. And just like you had said, last year you came down, you're like, well, I didn't want to bring anybody because I didn't know what it was going to be, and I didn't think it was going to be good. And then we walked out into the center, and you looked left and right, and do you remember what you said?
No.
It was, oh, shit.
I don't swear.
So, or oh, poop. So, so we really wanted to have something really special and have that be something that we kind of go forward with. So we had really special cars. This year we had the only podium finisher from the 1956 Mille Miglia in that class. So stuff like that. And the cool part about it is we wanted to also offer the drivers an experience as well, to where kind of touching on that, and nothing is, the spot is exclusive, but once you're in, then everything is kind of available. And we also, have live music. And I, contrary to what you guys were saying, actually, I thought the music, although there were a couple cringy covers, I agree. I was actually talking to Brad about the music, because that was one of the things he always is like, you got to have music and it's got to fill the air. And the music was filling the air no matter where you were at. And it never seemed, it would have been a very different event if you would have looked out over the yard with the cars and there would have been nothing but the sound of crashing water. It would have been a very different feel. So, in
a good way or a bad way?
I don't think it would have been in a good way, personally. I think that it kept you in that moment, and it didn't let you stare off into the ether. So I think it kept people kind of anchored. But so that's the music side of things. But yes, in regards to special events, we're really trying to get something going. This was our second year we ran a really good show. There were a couple opportunities for learning, but we'll get those better next year. And also what you guys said, we're not going to have the same cars back every year. So it's going to be 65 to 70 really, really unique hand-picked cars. And hopefully we get to the point where we also have a Concours the next day. Maybe you and I can just, hook up. We had talked about doing a drive with some lunch at a track or something like that. Maybe Nelson's Ledges, maybe.
Yeah.
So stuff like that. And I think we can really put on a special event kind of in comparison to Audrain, personally.
So I think we've sort of answered the question of what makes a good car event. One is variety. Two is an immersive experience, right? It's even though you're at some crazy place on the ocean, you almost feel like you're not there until you turn around and look at the view and go, oh my goodness, I'm here. You're immersed in the show, whether it's the music or the arrangement of the cars, the people, for sure, the food. And I think good organization is also key. Nothing to ruin a group of great cars like, things
Logistics.
being helter-skelter.
Oh, and speaking, I want to touch on inclusivity, because just like you said, like everybody felt like they were really, included in everything. But
exclusivity at the same time, because if you include all cars, then the event sucks.
Well, I'm talking about from a spectator standpoint.
Sure.
Yeah. But I totally agree. Your selection has got to be exclusive. But to touch on the organization, another shout out to Ben and his guys. The mud pit that was the entrance, 12 hours before the first cars, they had 600 and something
600 sheets of plywood.
And they made a wood road.
6-8 hours, 12 hours something for them to build a wooden road over this mud pit for all these priceless cars to get onto the show field.
And that doesn't get done without an amazing team, an amazing willpower. And that's commendable right there. That if there was nothing else that made that whole weekend work, that is an example of, that go hard or go home kind of scenario.
Absolutely. Well, thanks guys for going with me. Bailey has one more quick thought.
Going back to selection, some of the smaller events I've really enjoyed.
Yes.
Like whether it's like a barn party or, other stuff. I've kind of dissected those, and for I do my event like maybe once or twice a year, no notice, just popped up random whenever on purpose. But my main focus with that is we're all interested in cars, but I try to start at the source. So I curate the people. My focus is I want a good selection of people there. And then they happen to bring, really interesting, cool cars. And everyone's talking, it's a even playing
weird
field.
People have weird cars.
Yes, we're all very weird. But I don't know. I like that. And I thought the Audrain kind of did the same thing, because I was talking to people who were, I don't like looking at things in leagues, but these people were way out of, my league and my realm of car ownership, car showing, stuff like that. But they were having, the same level conversations with me about what they own, like what we enjoy, just even conversations about not cars with, people that I've watched on TV growing up in the car world. So I really like seeing the curation of good people first, and then they happen to bring the cars. I enjoy that. I think your Cars of the Stars does a good job of that.
The Cars of the Stars and the Canton Cars and Coffee were both two things that we grew it from the driver first. Mm-hmm. Everybody can throw a bunch of ad money at stuff and grow stuff, but we kind of really organically grew the Cars and Coffee, particularly for that reason. Yeah. Because I want the people that, just like I couldn't get in touch with you for the Lambo at first, but if you have the people that are going to let the kids sit in the cars and talk to the fanboys like me when I go up and talk to Jay Leno out of, hey, here's this guy, you have no idea, and, that kind of stuff. You got to curate that to the driver first, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, good point, Bailey. Curate the people. That's a mic drop moment. Well, thank you guys. Thank you all for going with me. That certainly made it better. Nothing like having a bunch of crazies around to party with and enjoy cars. It is that time of the night now where we have the props and flops. Brought to you by SwitchCars. SwitchCars is the enthusiast dealership where we buy, sell, consign, service, and store only cars that we like ourselves. That's a lie. I will store anything if you pay the bill. Check out our hand-picked inventory at SwitchCars.com. Our pick of the week from SwitchCars inventory is a 2005 Porsche Boxster S in white over tan, manual transmission. Just added to our inventory today, 4,000 miles on it. And it's my pick because I like white cars, and especially white on tan cars. I know it's a girly color, whatever, and a Boxster's a girly car, so whatever. Now, maybe a little bit effeminate for loving a white on tan Boxster, but they're great cars to drive. They're mid-engine, they're balanced, they're a lot of fun, ton of car for the money, and they just look better than the silver and black ones that are so ubiquitous. So there you go. It's online. Check it out. Mention SwitchCast, and you'll get a $1,000 discount. The flop of the week. Facebook/Meta continues to make it more and more difficult for businesses to advertise and conduct business on their platform. Ethan can testify to that, as Boxcast has had issues with them. Nathan's detailing. Most of our sponsors have had issues with having their ad accounts restricted or shut down for no explainable reason. But the latest one, shortly after they added this feature for car dealerships to have their vehicle inventory, is then they immediately removed it. So they're removing business accounts' ability to list vehicles on Marketplace, which will take final effect in January of 2023. So they said that dealers will be able to continue reaching vehicle or home buyers or home renters on Facebook in other ways. Individuals selling their vehicles will still be able to post listings from their personal pages on behalf of the dealers. And the company know that dealers will not lose any of their ability to reach an audience via ads. But what they're overlooking is that an individual listing on behalf of a dealer as an individual is actually an illegal practice called curb stoning. It's very, very illegal. But the way Facebook was couching this is that they're trying to get rid of misleading ads and clickbaits and scams. But in my opinion, they're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Facebook Marketplace has been a disaster since its inception, and it makes us all really, really miss Craigslist. There's a far better way of getting rid of misleading listings than just abandoning them altogether. And, for that matter, people are still going to make misleading listings. You're just taking away legit companies' ability to do so. So whatever. Fine, Facebook, do it. We don't care. The prop of the week goes to both Google and Cars for Sale, because in contrast to Facebook, Google is promoting dealers and helping them succeed. They are constantly improving their business listing pages and now adding vehicle inventory details. And our incredible provider, carsforsale.com, this is not a paid commercial. This is awesome. They have a flat rate of $99 per month for a dealer, regardless of the size of your dealership, as opposed to the tiered pricing programs with other third-party advertising providers. Cars for Sale automatically feeds listing to Google. And this is a very new feature of Google, and Cars for Sale is already on it. And yeah, it's friggin' awesome. So suck it, Meta. Go Google and Cars for Sale. Anyway. That is all. Oh, another side note, Carvana is now sponsoring Donut Media. We'll see how that works out for them. Probably not going to help them out. Their share price is back down to $20 a share because they suck. Anyway, thank you all for being here tonight. Appreciate it. Had a lot of fun. Hope to see some of you at car events in the future. We will certainly be searching out new car events that we haven't been to before. Goodwood is on the list. Some other car rallies, definitely Amelia we go to every year. Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix is on the list for next year. So if you've got a suggestion or want to extend media passes and hospitality our way, we'll be happy to check out your event and share it if it's good. Thank you to all the guys that joined me both tonight and on the weekend. Thank you to our sponsors, Boxcast, Nuts for Sticks, Switch Cars, Celebrity Machines, Stephen Home Woodworking, and Nathan's Detailing. Thank you to our producer, Ethan Huffnagel. Our bumper music is provided by Emily and Ivory. You can stream their full album on Spotify or SoundCloud. This episode will be available Friday wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week as we look forward to answering your automotive questions and entertaining you on the drive of your life.